Hey everybody, and welcome to the final NintendoFuse E3 2018 recap video. This is for Thursday, June 14th, and unfortunately it is the last day of E3. Sad face. But I'm not alone to discuss this. I'm joined today by Steve.
Hey Barry, it is the last day. I'm so sad, but all good things come to an end. But hey, we got some good games to look forward to. So it's good.
Yes, we do. And well, let's get into it. They had a shorter treehouse today. I think just probably for demolishing their set and getting things ready to go back to Japan. But they did show off some new stuff. So let's actually go with the new stuff first, and then we'll tackle the stuff they've shown in excess. So they started with Arcade Archives, which is a series of arcade games that are ported to the Switch digitally. Unfortunately, they're digital. The big ones have been Neo Geo, but now Nintendo is getting with Hamster, and they showed off two. The first, which is Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong, with the stage that's been missing. And there's three different ways you can play it. You can play the first release with the bugs, the second release, and then our release, the international version. And that is actually out today. It was shadow dropped. And then the other one they showed is Skyskipper, which has a really cool history. There's apparently only one American arcade cabinet left. There were only 10 to begin with, and this is the ROM from that arcade cabinet, so it is preserved. It looks like a really interesting game. The artwork was done by Miyamoto. This is deep Nintendo roots here. Steve, what did you think of these?
Yeah. I was, I figured they'd eventually bring Donkey Kong out. It was kind of just out of the blue, and so I think that's cool to have that. Of course, I hope they continue to do some really cool stuff. Like you've said many times, it'd be cool for collectors and stuff to have these, maybe a collection, and maybe eventually they will. After they get 10 games or something, maybe they'll bring them out in a collection for 50, $60 or something like that. But so yeah, it's Donkey Kong. It's the one that we all have known and loved and played for years and years. Skyskipper came completely, of course, out of the blue. Never heard of the game before, and it's very interesting to watch it. And I don't think I'll end up getting it, but it's been cool to watch other people play, and just like the controls seem interesting. It's kind of a combination of a couple different types of games, because you're flying around this plane, but you're collecting cards and dropping bombs on apes, and it's kind of wacky, but it's cool, and it's cool that they're just reaching into some archives and things that most of us have never heard of before, and kind of pulling them out of nowhere and making them alive and new again. So.
How about that main character, Mr. U? I mean,
Right.
that is as generic as you can
Right.
get. It's not even like Jumpman, which was generic. This is even more generic.
Right.
But yeah, I really hope they put this physically. I mean, especially like there's only one arcade cabinet left of this in existence, and obviously having the game digital for preservation is great. But it would also be good to get physical copies out there, especially when the shop goes down. Then the game is lost again forever, and that's just terrible. Like they should get a physical collection out there.
Yeah,
It's not unheard of.
I was just thinking about that today because I was looking through the list of all the games that are on sale right now. They're like up to 50% on the eShops, both 3DS and Switch, and I saw Earthbound on there. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that the Earthbound came out on 3DS eShop, and like the thought ran through my mind, like that's a game that if you try to get the original cartridge, it's like so expensive, especially if it's in mint condition, with the book and everything like that. And so it was really easy for people to have it, and it was kind of cool and everything. But if that eShop ever goes down, and it probably will at some point, it's just a matter of time. And I don't think we're going to probably see those things ported over, those 3D game and 3DS games brought over, like what happens to all that stuff and everything. And so, like you've been saying for many times, what happens to all this digital content, and this game is even more rare than Earthbound for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Earthbound, you can get a copy. There's no amount of money you can purchase a physical copy of this because there was only but in the arcades. And like I said, there's only one right now. It's an NOA, and they're totally not letting this go. So, and even if they did, it'd have to be extraordinary amount of money.
Yep.
So, I really hope, they put out collections of things before. Namco Museum has Midway, Activision. All these companies have done collections. So it's a no-brainer to me. Like, I'm not saying put out 2 games on a cart, no, but when you're done. And I hope they do the same with the Neo Geo. There's a lot of games, and I think if they said, you know what, let's do a collection like Rare Replay kind of was. Here's 30 games for $20. I think that would sell. I think
Yep.
that would sell really well, especially to people who didn't get in on this.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a no brainer in my mind. I mean, it's just they're already done. Just slap them all on one cart, sell
Yeah,
it for 50, $60, and then you're just raking in money.
exactly. The ROMs already exist, and you don't have to take them off the shop. You could leave them there. But there's definitely people who do not do digital like me, or even just as gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma goes to Toys R Us, or a bad example now, a GameStop, and sees a case. Oh, look, 30 games for $20. Oh, this will be good. Boom.
Yep.
It's an easy sale. So they left this and they went to a game that I'm much more excited about now than I ever was when it first was revealed. Starlink, and they showed us some actual gameplay. They showed us Fox. They showed us how the figures work, and they answered a couple questions that I was really concerned about, and that is, would it have co-op? And it does. And how would this work portably? And can I play this with a Pro controller, or do I need to use the Joy-Cons? And the answer to all of that is yes, yes, and yes, because they are brilliant in doing this, where if you scan in a figure, you attach a figure, it saves digitally to your game so that you can actually switch on the fly without physically switching it out, although you can still physically switch it out, which is wonderful. And it's fast. It is immediate. I was really impressed, and I didn't think about the fact that you could put a wing on a wing and then a weapon. Like, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
Like that. What do you think now, Steve?
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering how far that can go is what I want to know. Like, how much can you build upon each other? Because they got like a couple of them, and I was like, oh man, keep going, build it
Yeah.
out. Of course, at that point, your ship would probably be too heavy, and you'd be dragging the ground all the time, and not actually be able to take off of a planet. So I think actually seeing it, we chatted earlier on Slack about this, and you were more excited about it. I'm actually a little more hesitant, just because I need to see a little more about it. What the missions look like when you're actually on a planet and everything, because I hope that it's equally balanced, I guess, for my sake, because I enjoy the more action, the more adventure sort of thing. If I'm exploring, I mean, I just have bad memories. Maybe I've been tainted too much from oh, I'm blanking on the name of the game
No
now.
Man's Sky.
Exactly, No Man's Sky. And so maybe I'm just I have bad thoughts in my head from that game. And so hoping that it doesn't lean that direction. I want more action. I want more exciting adventure, especially with Star Fox being in the game. That's a game that's like fly and gun, not necessarily run and gun unless you're playing Star Fox Adventure. But
Assault as well.
or Assault, yeah. But I want more adventure. I want more exciting, air battles and stuff like that. So if that if there's a good balance in there, I'm gonna be very, very happy with it. But it was interesting to me that they spent a lot more time today, I think, exploring the missions because they hadn't yet. But that made me a little hesitant. I'm like, oh, but at least you get to fly around the each world instead of having to like hoof it on foot, like No Man's Sky, which just took forever. And so flying around there, having a little more weapons, having a little more like development to each world and everything does sound a lot more exciting. I think I'm just having bad flashbacks of No Man's Sky.
Well, first off, No Man's Sky was like pretty much infinite. Like, it just kept going. This is, I think, 7 planets.
Yeah.
So it's much smaller, and the planets are spherical. You can fly around them. There's no fuel. There's no minerals to mine or anything like that. It's very action heavy. Like, the action was great, and I think the reason they did the ground combat the way they did was just to make it easier. Because if you think of like all range mode and you have to constantly go, do U-turns to try to hit those weak spots. It's going to take you a lot longer. It's going to be a lot less streamlined. You're going to be more focused on hitting those spots and switching out weapons and trying different strategies. And there was a lot of RPG elements. Like each pilot has their own special skill. Each ship has their own positives and negatives. Then you could level up weapons. You could level up shielding. You could equip different perks. I was impressed. I was like, they really thought this out. And I was reading an interview with Ubisoft with the creators about how like how it worked, how they figured out and got Star Fox in there, and it reminded me very much of talking about Mario and Rabbids. And if you play Mario and Rabbids, you can tell that is a love letter. Like the person who created that, like we saw him crying when that was revealed, and he loves that game and he loves the Mario franchise, and you tells it is told. And this team loves Star Fox.
Yep.
So if they go into this with the same amount of passion as the other team did with Mario and Rabbids, then there is going to be an amazing amount of Star Fox content. They already got all the voice actors from Star Fox Zero back, all reprising their roles, which is great. They didn't have to do that. They just did it. They, have Super Nintendo sound effects, the barrel roll, the fact that the R-Wing has the lasers and stuff without needing equipment, and the story content that you can find out how Fox goes from the Lilat system to Atlas. Plus the fact that you can play Fox the entire game and put Fox in other ships if you want, or have other people fly the R-Wing. And it's interesting, they said they handed the model to Miyamoto, and they were worried, of course. And one of the first things he did was he took off the wings and he flipped them. And they were like, "Oh my God, like he's gonna hate this. He's gonna hate this." And he said he loved it. He loved that, and he gave people freedom.
Yeah.
He absolutely loved it. And I was like, okay, like he's behind this. I have some faith. There's no wonky two control system here that I didn't like in Star Fox Zero. This very well may be the Star Fox game we've been looking for. And who knows, if this sells well, then maybe we will get a Star Fox like this, in addition to a Starlink 2 with Fox.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's probably the best thing that I heard was that you can play the entire game as Fox, because I will be doing that. I don't really care much at all about the rest of this game, but the fact that I can play Star Fox makes it kind of like a Star Fox game, and that gets me excited. It's kind of like when they put Link in Soul Calibur 2.
Yep.
I only played as Link. Because Link's awesome, and I didn't really care about anything else in that game. I played through the entire game. He was my main character, and I'll be doing probably the exact same thing with Starlink as well.
You wouldn't switch out for like a special ability of another pilot or a different ship for a different ability,
it's gonna have
like
to
a
be good.
tanking ship. Well, they said like one of them was more like a tank ship and one of them was more like a speedier ship.
Well, I think the cool thing is that you can have them put the additions like from the other ships onto the R-Wing as well. So you can make the R-Wing kind of like a tank or something like that, which is really cool. So you get the benefits, and you just kind of add these things onto the R-Wing, which is kind of crazy to see, but really cool at the same time.
And that's something I was wondering too, because I was looking at the different starter packs between the three systems, and naturally the other systems come with an additional weapon as 3 weapons and a different starter ship, and the Switch one comes with only 2 weapons, but it comes with Fox as an additional character plus the R-Wing. And I don't know about that third weapon, but I do know they said that the Switch version will have the digital code for that other ship, the other starter ship in there. So even though you're not physically getting it, you can at least use it. So you are actually getting 2 ships with the base game. You're just only physically getting one, which I think is cool. I'll still probably find another copy to get a physical version of that ship, but that's going to be the easiest one to find anyways, because it's common. But I think that's neat. So it's not like, well, I'm only going to get the R-Wing. Now I can't do. No, you can still do everything with that other ship as well. And I love the fact that there's the digital, because Skylanders did that too on the Switch, only because it's portable. And if you had to go portable, hold on, I want to play Starlink on lunch. Here it is. That's going to be a mess. You're going to lose pieces. But the fact that you just pause the game and you have to go through menus, I think that's brilliant. I think you have both options. And I don't know. I'm excited for the technology. I was really impressed with how quick it happened. And yeah, I think this game looks great. I think this game is going to sell way more on the Switch versus other systems, to the point that if there is a Starlink 2, it very well could become a Switch exclusive because it underperforms on other systems.
Nice. Do you have to, when you first initially scan in a character or a ship or something like that, do you have to use their thing, or can you use the built-in NFC in the Switch or the controllers?
That I don't know, but I want to bet that you have to use that
That's what
because
I'm
I thought it
thinking
was
too.
neat because it had the character go in and then the ship go on top of it.
Right.
I'm like, that looks neat, and then there's actually piloting it.
It does. It's cool,
I,
but but like, let's say you're on your lunch break and you go run and grab something, you can't just go like, oh, scan it in because you have to have the whole entire contraption, sort of thing. So,
only if it's your first time playing the game.
oh, okay.
That's what I'm
So I
saying.
thought,
Like once you scan it in, once you use it the first time, it's saved on your Switch. So forever, then you could go and you could just
oh,
manually
right. If it's your first time using that particular
first time.
toy as well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
right,
only for the first time,
yeah,
and that makes sense. You need a way to scan it in.
yeah. It'd
So
just be
I can.
nice if it did include, use the included NFC, because right now pretty much Amiibo and the only ones that do it, and sometimes my phone that tries to pay through Apple Pay on it, but yeah,
You know what? And they very well could be. They just didn't touch on it.
yeah,
So for now, it's a safe assumption to bet that you absolutely need to use their device. And this way, if that's the case, then you go in expecting it.
yeah.
And if you can use the NFC, great. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that on their lunch break are going to buy a new figure just to play. Like
Probably not.
there might be a few, but it's so
It's a
few
rare
and far
occurrence for sure.
they can wait 2 or 3 hours to get home. Then at that point, they could deal with it. They should be working anyway. But yeah, they did show a lot about this game. This is great. I'm glad that Nintendo is embracing this. Almost like a first party title, even though it is coming to other systems. Then they did show for other new things. They showed Killer Queen Black, which I admit I did not really get to see much of it. Life happened. So Steve, you saw most of this. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that for me is my eyes were open to this entire arcade community that's been around this game, a game that I had never really heard of before this, and it seems like Nintendo has actually went after them and said, they weren't planning on bringing it to the Switch really, but they kind of went after it and really tried to make it happen. They didn't even have dev kits, and Nintendo's like, here you go. 3 days later, they showed up and made this happen, and they've changed the game a little bit. I think balanced it out a little better from what it was in the arcade, or what it still is in the arcade, to now the home console version. And so things like, the basic game, we talked about it being a lot like Joust, which it kind of is. But in this one, I think everybody has a sword or a blade or something like that. You can't switch out weapons like you could before. And the goal of the game is actually to collect these balls and throw them in your home area, your goal or whatever. But you have these queens that kind of you can guard, and so they kind of balanced out the different powers of the queens, and you can actually throw the balls in the home console version. You couldn't do that. You had to actually fly them in before, which made, like edge guarding, what they called, like before they just leave a queen in each goal and just like take out each person that comes. Now you can throw the ball in there, which makes the game a little more balanced out this time around. So yeah, it seems like they've spent a lot of time on it, and the cool thing that they said was Nintendo really did work with them in making this happen. And they said, yeah, we got a dev kit. Like they arrived in our place or whatever 3 days later, and they said within, I think it was just like, it was a very short amount of time, maybe a day or so, they had a working version, and then within a week and a half it was playable, ready to go, and what they pretty much have right now. And so I think that's the cool thing. Like Nintendo may be picking and choosing which indie developers they're working with, but when they choose to go all in, they go all in, and they really make things happen. And they pour the resources in there, and they, like, this game went from not having a Switch version at all to like 2 weeks later being ready to go.
Not only that, but it's coming to Switch.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks cool. I'm glad to see Nintendo do this. I really wish they would do this for other companies too, like to more third party. And they did say that because the system's been out for a while now, third party ports are going to come sooner and sooner and sooner. And I hope that's the case, because it would be really good to see some of these other third party games, like even AAA games, getting on there. It's great to have these indies. And I think it's important to have them, but I think it's also important to have the other stuff, the system sellers. This might be a system seller to some people, but I don't think that's a large amount of people.
No, No, it's. I mean, it does have a large community around the arcade version and everything, but it's a game that I never heard of, and it doesn't mean I definitely don't know everything that's going on out there. But it's going to be a smaller community that's going to be buying a Switch just for this game. So yeah, if they were able to get some big third parties in there, that'd be really awesome.
I hope so. But this looks good. Hopefully we get some review copies and we can play it. We'll have to see. It comes out later this year. So now other new stuff. They showed off Xenoblade 2. This time they showed the DLC. They showed Torna. They didn't show the challenge. And I don't know if Steve, if you even watched any of this.
I watched a lot of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. What did you think before I get into it?
I was just again taken back. But there's two games. The other one we're going to talk about in just a bit. But this was another one that I was just really taken back by the look of it. In fact, I think this DLC looks better than the actual Xenoblade 2. It looks like there's more polish to it. There's more just. It drew me in more than Xenoblade 2 did. Even watching videos and trailers and stuff from that, this totally drew me into the world, and I wanted to experience that world by how it looked. And so and I remember seeing that from I think Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade X, and I remember enjoying it. I didn't really like the look of Xenoblade 2, but I feel like this DLC looks better. And that did draw me in a lot more, and I think it's interesting that they're changing up some stuff with it. I think it's not just additional levels for exactly what Xenoblade 2 was. They've changed up a little bit of the combat system and how you can partner up and different things like that. I think that's interesting that they like. In a way, I kind of thought it like I looked at it and like, oh, this is a prequel, so things were cooler and then they got worse. And if you follow the logic of the timeline sort of thing, like you could do really cool things and then something happened and things got worse for Xenoblade 2. So.
Well, to be fair, I mean the same thing could be said about Star Wars. The technology looks
Totally.
better,
Yeah.
But honestly, something does happen.
I kind of actually assumed it, like with all the like. Because people wanted to know what's going on beforehand and everything, and what led to the whole storyline of Xeno 2. So I was like, okay, maybe this actually does kind of fit in, and it's not just a Star Wars prequel sort of thing.
Oh, it does. Although I found it weird that he's like, this is the first glance at Adam. No, it wasn't, because you see Adam and you talk to Adam and you see his face. Like that wasn't a surprise. It's not like the first time you see his face. But it. Yeah, the changes you could have, you could play the blades, you could swap between driver and blade, which is very interesting, and you could also equip weapons. Before your driver would have whatever weapon your blade used. So if you wanted to level up sword, you needed a blade that had sword, or you wanted knuckles or great axe or whatever. This time you get weapons on top of that, that's awesome. That is awesome. Like that changes up. And they streamlined the crafting, like they were talking about the auxiliary cores. Like they were a pain in the butt because you had to go to a shop and they would be like, here's the auxiliary cores. First off, you had to have the empty core, and then you had the necessary materials to fill it. And sometimes those materials were hard to find. It wasn't like an actual crafting process. You just pushed a button, but you still had to have the materials. This, it's boom. The enemies just drop the full cores instead of the empty cores. The fact that you get to visit Torna is awesome, because in the game, Torna. In the original game, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna is talked about, but it is a fallen titan, and you never actually see Torna totally. You kind of do see Torna, and I'm not going to try to spoil it, but you don't get to go to Torna. And this, you get to go to Torna. And then the end of the demo, they showed you going to, God, I can't think of the titan's name now, which is actually the same titan you start Chapter 2 on. And that's why I said... in the previous discussion, like, play until Chapter 2. Like, yeah, I need to get to Chapter 2. I was talking to Greg. And I'm happy to hear you more interested in this, because really, I think you should give this a shot. If this gets you into that world is a very, very beautiful world. And it has a lot to offer. And that's great, because this is something special. I mean, they said it's like half the game. Like, it is I mean, they're releasing it as a separate game. You do not need the original Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to play this. And if you play the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 already, this is a no-brainer. Like, this is an absolute no-brainer. Like, if you enjoyed that story, then this is more. If
Mm-hmm.
you haven't, this very well may have been done as a streamlined entry point. And I hope that's the case. I hope you pick it up because I would love to. I would have sit here and have a ton of discussion with you about that story. It's so good,
Yeah.
and I'd love to hear you say, you know what, I should have given this a chance beforehand because this is great. And I would be like, I told you.
Oh, I never deny it. I mean, I have Xeno X. Like, I really enjoyed that game. There's just so much game there that I never got around to it and to finishing it. And now that it's on Wii U, I've moved and everything. It's in boxes. So eventually, I will pull it back out, and I want to finish that game because I really did enjoy it. So I'm not necessarily opposed. It's not like Mega Man where I hate it apparently. So I actually do enjoy the game. I didn't enjoy the demos of what I played for Xenoblade One. But Xenoblade X I did enjoy, and I wanted to get into timing as more than
Yeah.
anything that prevented me from it. It wasn't a dislike for the game at all.
Well, I can tell you this. Like, I spent a lot of time in Xeno 2, but a lot of that was extra stuff. It was, I'm going to finish all the quests. I'm going to farm up the best chips. I'm going to get everybody to 99. I'm going to find every blade in the gotcha system. I'm going to level all of them up to max. I didn't want to leave the world. That's how absorbing it is. But you don't have to do that. I mean, I finished the game. It took me a little over 100 hours to finish the game, which is still a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
I was taking my time, though. I was exploring every nook and cranny. Like, I was in love with this world. And that's how much, like Breath of the Wild drew all of us in. This drew me in even more so, even though it didn't have the same type of freedom. So I do hope that when this comes out in September, I believe it is, you do get it because we can have a really good game chat on this, and I look forward to that. So
It'll be fun. The problem is there's all these other games coming out in September and October.
there's a lot, and well, let's go to a game now that doesn't come out. That actually comes out this summer, which I believe is the other game you were alluding to, and that's Octopath Traveler. Which they did show off yesterday, and we did have a nice discussion about it, Greg and I. You were not a part of that. So, Steve, why don't you talk about what they showed off and your feelings? Because I've been clear about my feelings already.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, again, like I said before, this was the other game I was alluding to, is this world just looks awesome. I remember when it was showed off, when it was still, Project Octopath Traveler, and I just, as soon as I saw it, was like, oh my gosh, like it's a world like I've never seen before, like with how they've really created like this 8-bit kind of style, but making it really new and fresh.
It's more
and
16-bit.
16-bit, yeah, okay. But either way, it's like old meets new, and the lighting, and it looks like it just jumps off. Like if it was a in a book, it'd be jumping off the page. So it's like in a way kind of jumping off the screen, and it just is really, really cool to look at. And so similar to Xenoblade, I think it's one of those games that I want to get into that world and explore it. I want to see what's around. I want to see more of what they've done. I honestly have paid very little attention to the storyline or anything because I've just drawn into this world itself. And I think that's another way of me just like going back and probably hitting something that I feel like is probably very, very certain now, unlike several years ago, that video games are art. And it's just like, if people still don't believe that, it's like crazy, because this is truly a piece of art. And the people that have created this and the designers and everything, like, just, man, major kudos to you for like creating such an amazing world that I just want to get in and explore. So that's the positive things. The negative thing, potential negative things, for me, not for everybody, but for me, because I've talked about all this stuff about having less and less time to play games, this game seems more and more complicated as we get into it. There's a lot of management and all this stuff of all your characters that you're in your party, but also your tools and your weapons and magic and all, matching all these things together. And I'm like, oh great, like this is like, it could be like another job just to figure out all the different details and everything that's going to go into this game in order to really get the most out of it. And that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just really a downside for me. I'm like, oh man, like another game I'm not going to have enough time to really fully explore. But yeah, I think it's a great thing, though. I think it's awesome that it's taken this, and it's more than just a pretty RPG. There's some true depth there.
You mentioned time. They said yesterday that if you were to do all 8 stories, because there's a main story and then the 8 stories that are separate, it would take you about 60 hours to do it all if you did all 8. If you did all the side quests and all the bonus stuff, it'd take you about 100.
Right.
So if you wanted to go and experience this and just do one character, which we saw today that the characters do meet up because they had 4 of them in a party.
Yeah.
So if you want to do one character and just run through a playthrough, it might take you 20 hours, or it probably takes you like less each subsequent playthrough because maybe stuff carries over, maybe you know the terrain a little better.
That's a good point.
But yeah, if you just said I want to go in and you get 20 hours out of it, that's not a terrible amount of time that you couldn't sink in, especially to a world that already pulls you in that you want to explore, and it's also bang for your buck.
Yep.
Because you could always then say, you know what, I'm gonna put the game down for a while, and then maybe a couple years later, we're having a lull in games or something, and you say, you know what, I want to go back to it, and this time you pick a different character.
Right.
And I like that. I like that it gives you the freedom to play the game your way.
Right. And I think that the cool thing with this is these. I think Octopath Traveler is going to be one of those games that I am going to enjoy playing on the go in handheld just as much as I'm going to play it on the TV, maybe even more in handheld because it's just the style behind it. And I think that will actually draw me in a little more because I can play it on the go. This is something I can play on a 5-hour plane ride or whatever as well. That it's not just something that I want to experience on my TV. So that's going to broaden the appeal of the game as well.
Oh, absolutely. And they the other thing is if you want to give this a try, the demo is live now, and the demo is seemingly the full game, or at least a good chunk of the game, and you get 3 hours. 3 hours in this demo, and the demo cuts off, and that's all you get. And all that data will carry into the main game. So if it's something you're on the fence about, you want to see, try it. You have nothing to lose.
Totally.
And if you like it, you already got a head start.
Yep.
We were talking about this yesterday, and I said that I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait till it's closer because I have a feeling I'm going to get absorbed into this demo and want to play more, and I'm going to have to wait.
Yeah.
And Greg agreed with me. He's like, you know what? I think I'm going to wait too and get a little closer.
I'm gonna wait too. Not necessarily for that reason, but mainly because I don't want too much time to lapse for me to forget what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like that's another factor. Like, oh, what was I doing again? Oh, I might as well just start over, and that defeated the whole purpose of the demo. So if you do it like 2 days beforehand or a day beforehand or something, and say, okay, well, now I can just continue, or I gotta wait till tomorrow. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I love that concept, and I hope more games like that will do something similar. I think it's a really cool idea, and I know some other games have done it in the past, and I hope we see a little more of that with games that make sense.
Well, this team, this is the Bravely team, and they did it for both Bravely Default and Bravely Second. What they did there, though, is they put a little demo out in a little world with its own storyline. You had your own characters. They can only go up to level 4. And the story was completely different. It wasn't part of the main game. It was like a prequel kind of deal or its own separate entity. And instead of that data going, you had to accomplish certain things and you got packs. Like if you, slayed the dragon at the end, you got a pack that when you booted up the full game, it gave you, a weapon and an armor and a potion. And then if you talked to every NPC, you got another one that gave you a couple potions and ethers. They weren't huge. They weren't game breaking. They were just little extra bonuses. So you can mess around with the job system, try it out. And if you liked it, you got some perks. So I like the fact that this team does that, and I hope they continue. And more should do that too.
Definitely.
Now, the rest of the stuff they showed was not new, but we do want to briefly touch on it. They showed more Mario Party, Super Mario Party specifically, and they did show a new mode, which was a team mode, where you're on a free range grid like the 3DS games, and you each roll a die, and the combined is what you can move as. But it's not just you as a team. You each get to move it. So if you get 8, each of you get to move 8, but you're independent. You're not in a car, even though you're a team. You can go whatever direction you want, and the objective is still the same. There's still Toads, Toadette with the stars, and there's hazards, and there's mini games in between rounds and stuff. But they're all 2 versus 2 mini games, of course. And on top of that, they showed more of the Toad's Playhouse connectivity. Between 2 switches. This time they showed the tank game off that they did in the trailer, and that looks great.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed off the mini games again. They showed off a couple more mini games, and they told us that you can actually play the mini games online,
Woohoo!
which is something we've been wanting for a long time. Steve, I don't know if you watched yesterday's segments of Mario Party. If you also watched today's, what are your thoughts? Are you sold in this game?
Oh yeah, yeah. As soon as they mentioned it, really, I was sold. With high hopes, and pretty much everything that I've been hoping for has been there. Every time I get to see it, they show off another thing that confirms that they really have listened. And I think you and Greg talked about that yesterday. That they really, it seems like they've been really listening to the fans this time around. Like all the things that we didn't like about the past few Mario Party games, they've taken out, and the things that people have said, oh yeah, this is really cool, we want to see more of it, they've put it in. Like some of the things that you said that were really cool about the 3DS game, now it's in this home console version, and so I think that's really cool. I love the fact that they're doing online. You know, we've talked about it on numerous occasions about like we want Mario Party to go online. It doesn't mean they have to necessarily do a full board game online. That may not make sense for the type of game it is, but to do like a collection of mini games and things like that, and that's what they've done. Mario-a-thon, I think is what they're calling it, is now going to be online. It's got some leaderboards and all this different stuff, and that's really cool.
I think the problem with doing like the full game online is that there's, especially with Mario Party, there's going to be that person that rage quits, and then the whole game crashes after that. People are just going to be pissed,
Right.
And just like table flips in real life, you just don't want that. So
Right.
I understand. And Mario Party on its own ruins enough friendships.
Right. Exactly.
Let alone this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy they pulled so much content from it, and they stated that they called it Super Mario Party instead of Mario Party 11 because they wanted it to be like a reboot. They wanted it to be a fresh start. They wanted to take the best elements of what people loved about the past games with brand new elements and make it its own new thing. So I have a feeling the next one is going to be called Super Mario Party 2 or something else, but I do not think we're going to see a Mario Party 11 in name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this is just awesome.
Yeah, I think it was a good move as well, because I feel like a lot of people would have been really hesitant if they saw Mario Party 11 going, oh, they're continuing what they've done before, but with a new name, it triggers something in my mind going, oh, this is a new game. Like not just a new name, this is a new game, and it's and it really is a rebooting of the original.
Not only that, but when you're already up to that high of a number, it is intimidating to some people.
Yeah.
And not the hardcore people, but the more casual. They're like, "Oh, 11. Oh my God, like do I have to play 1 to 10 first? Like that's do I really want to jump into this? This is already established. I might not enjoy this. This Super Mario Party, oh, what's that? Like they don't even need to know about the other 10 home console games or any of the handheld games. They could just jump in, oh, this must be a new thing.
Right. So
So
the
yeah,
next
I
one will
think
be New Super Mario Party. So.
Oh God, no. No. God, no. Don't start that. New Super Mario Party U, no. No, bad naming, bad Steve. So we're almost done with what they showed off. The last there's 2 more things they showed off. The first one was Mario Tennis. They showed more Mario Tennis Aces. They highlighted the characters. Again, they went through, Blooper and Koopa, how they're unlocked later on. They just pretty much had matches. They didn't go through the story mode, but they showed some more advanced techniques. And I found myself engaged just watching these matches. They were very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And Steve, what do you think? They did show doubles, I think, too.
They did, yeah, they did show doubles, and and there was a couple matches, man. They just were not stopping. I forget, it was one of the guys and the girls from there, Sam, and I'm forgetting his name, but they like just kept going back and forth, and like the game wasn't ending. They finally had to stop them before they went to doubles. So that was entertaining just to watch. I think. I'm still. I'm excited about the game, but I'm still a little hesitant because I'm hoping there's enough game there for me to really enjoy it on my own. I think I should be able to with the story mode and everything in there. Again, I just feel like I've been tainted by past games, so like especially the last one, Super Smash was just but Ultra Smash, whatever it is, new Super Smash Ultra. So the but I think there's enough games there, and I just am hesitant mainly because like I want to enjoy it online, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, there's some really good players, and especially watching them online, like on Treehouse Live. I'm like, wow, I am so far from the level that they are at right now. Of course, they play it for a living, but still, I'm like, man, if people can get that good, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, at least there's a single player content, and you
Right.
know what? You never have to worry about going online. You could just do the single player content and play against a computer in the different modes or local
Yep.
on local play. And yeah, I think the game looks phenomenal. I'm beyond sold. Like I said, I didn't even play Ultra Smash because I heard too many negative things. But this looks great. I think Famitsu actually reviewed it. They gave it, I think, a 33 out of 40, which is fine. I mean, that's fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I wanted. I wanted, something I could sink my teeth into, something that I could play on a casual basis. Like, oh, I'm going to do a couple story missions, and then I'm going to go switch to another game when I get a little bored of it, and that's good. I like
Yep.
that. So, of course, the last game they showed is clearly SpongeBob SquarePants' Island Adventure with Hello Kitty crossover, which
Yes, and
actually looks
babies
really good. Oh yeah, and
with a
babies.
Z.
Yes, it's part of that series. It
Yes.
is really cool. But no, they Smash Brothers. Of course, it's Smash Brothers, and they focused on some like, new items, which is like a banana gun, which looks weird, and the black hole and the warp star and the healing pod. Those all look great. All of those items look absolutely great.
Yep.
Um, they showed some of the new Pokemon as well, which we've seen some of already, but they showed some more. The one that stood out for me was Alolan Vulpix. I didn't expect that. That was really cool to see. That's one of my wife's favorite Pokemon, so I'm like, oh, she's gonna be happy about that. And they showed off some stages. They did Spirit Tracks. They did Mushroom Kingdom. What else did they do? They did a
And
couple.
then one for the Breath of
Pork
the Wild
City. Pork
as well.
City. They did
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, the tower,
Yeah.
and they just showed off different characters. I mean, it was more of what we already know. We're both sold on this game already. We have been, but you didn't get to talk about what they showed off yesterday either, Steve. So take it away. What are your thoughts on what
Yeah,
they showed off?
actually, kind of things just run together for me most of the time anymore. Like, when did they show what? Yeah, I'm just excited about this game. I think for me, I'm definitely not. I've entered some Smash Brothers tournaments before, and it was one of those games that especially because I played the original on 64. My roommate and I were like really big fans of it in college, and then Melee came out. And I was hesitant about Melee in the beginning, but eventually it became a favorite of mine. Loved it, and I remember like us playing, and we like were destroying like pretty much everybody on our entire dorm floor. And then all of a sudden, like, word got out to one of the other floors, and they're like, "Oh!" So all of a sudden, one day these guys show up at our door with like their controllers in hand. They're like, "Hey, we heard you're good at Smash." We're like, okay, sure. And they were really good at team play, and we were not necessarily. We would always play solo, and we play some team stuff, but we didn't really work together as a team very well. They did, and totally destroyed us. And we were like, crap, wow, we got some work to do. And so we continued playing Smash, of course, and Brawl came out, and the Wii U and 3DS game came out. I originally went up and played before like a Nintendo sponsored tournament before Brawl came out, and played it like a couple of weeks before the game came out, and got like 2 or 3 rounds in. But eventually, met up with some players that are just amazing at the game. And so I'm kind of like, probably in the mid-level or like upper tier of like casual players, I guess. I don't know at this point, just because there's amazing, esports guys out there that are just like would wipe the floor with me at this point. But I say all of that to say I'm still incredibly excited about this game, and it's so much fun. And I play because I'm not just like elite like that. I play a lot of times with the items, and so all of that to say, I enjoy new items, and I think that they're cool. I think the Warp Star, it could like totally change the game in some ways, especially if they're thrown in certain spots, like they were trying to throw them right off the edge. I'm like, that takes away your your edge guarding and stuff, and all this different different strategies that you normally play into it. All of a sudden, an item shows up, and you're like, crap, I can't do my normal way of play. And I think it makes the game fresh and new, and yeah, I'm excited about it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not in the tournament level. I'm again more upper tier casual. I just have fun with it. I do like the crazy battles where stage hazards and Pokeballs and assist trophies are flying and it's chaos and you just pretty much have to survive by luck. And to me, like that's fun. Like I have fun with that. So I am excited for everything they showed off. And I know I'm not, especially now, not at this stage of life, am I ever going to be like super competitive. But for me, it's about the fun and it's about the memories of my childhood with Smash. For me, Smash was high school, and Melee was my first semester of college. And I did the same thing in dorm rooms. We were sitting there playing Melee, and we were having little tournaments, and we were kicking each other's butts. It was either that or Super Monkey Ball. Like that.
Oh,
Those
Monkey
are those are
Ball.
staples in college and in the GameCube. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? If you're watching this at this point and you know what Smash is, and you like Smash, you're excited for this game. If you don't like Smash and you don't understand the hype and all that, then there's nothing we could say that will change your mind. I mean, that's just it.
Yeah.
But that's the end. That's the end of E3. The show is technically still going on at the time of this filming, but I don't think anything new is going to come out. Could be wrong. We will see. But that is actually not the end of our E3 coverage. We do have some more stuff going live tonight. With this, there'll be another game chat. We've got an industry talks going live tomorrow on Friday. We've got game chats going live tomorrow on Friday. We've got a bunch of good stuff, and then on Monday we are going to have our podcast again. And on our podcast, we are going to be discussing E3 as a whole. So we are still going to have some E3 coverage. We're going to talk what we liked, what we didn't like, our overall grades, our overall feelings about E3 2018. And we encourage you to tune in and talk with us in the chat, and we will actually incorporate your feelings and let everybody know what you think. And if you're lucky, there might even be a special guest. But that's all I'm going to say. Steve, any final words on today's update?
No, I think I'm just, it's kind of a bittersweet moment, when E3 comes to the end. It's been great. There's a lot of stuff. Sad to see it go, but I'm excited about the next several months of all these games and actually getting my hands on them instead of just hearing about them all week.
Yes, and it's not the end for Nintendo news either, because there will still be Nintendo Directs, at least 2, maybe 3 more the rest of this year. And so yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, a lot on the plate for Nintendo, a lot of great games coming to the Switch for everybody to enjoy. And please let us know in the comments, what did you think were the highlights today? What do you think of E3 as a whole? Do you like our coverage? Do you like these news recaps? Please let us know. And well, I guess until next time, we'll see you on Monday then.
See ya.